Welcome back, Juicy Squad. This is your girl, Lucy, juicy but never thirsty, and this is Juicy Told You. If you're new to my page, please take a moment and subscribe, and also hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss a beat and you get an alert every time I have a new video. Speaking of video, guys, I am so devastated. Do you see this amazing look I just put together? I recorded the whole time trying to do a YouTube tutorial on this look. Guess what? When I was completed, I was all excited. I pull out the camera, I go to playback, and I realized I wasn't recording. So I have no tutorial for you. Oh, like, you have no idea like how excited I was for this tutorial. I have no plans, so I wasn't feeling rushed in a hurry getting ready to go out. I was taking my time, and I really wanted you guys to learn some new techniques and see the look. But if you are curious on what I used to put this look together, if you can figure out how you can recreate it yourself, there will be a list of all of the products I use in the description box. And as a reminder, I do have affiliate links for some of the products that I use. So if you use them, you are really supporting me, guys. All of the commission and revenue I get from my affiliate links helps me with my medical bills and allows me to continue to bring you guys quality content. Granted that I actually record it, but learning lesson, what am I gonna do? I'm definitely not gonna cry because I have a face beat. But I did plan on talking about some serious things with you guys. As you know, if you already are a part of my Juicy Squad and you're subscribed to my channel, I have been diagnosed with cancer and I'm currently undergoing chemo treatment to combat it. But a lot of people don't know the story behind of like how I found out that I was diagnosed with cancer. It's like a big story, and it's a long story, to be honest with you, and it's hard telling every single person exactly what happened. So I decided to do this video to let everybody know like exactly, how I found out. So right now it is June 2018, about I would say August of 2017, which is roughly about 10 months ago. Around that time, probably a few months earlier than August of last year, I would say, anywhere around May to August, I was underneath like a lot of stress. The most stress I've ever had in my whole life. Like, I was dealing with everything that can possibly stress you out. I was going through relationship problems, I was going through friendship problems, I was going through financial problems, I was going through job problems, I was going through spiritual problems, I was going through physical problems. It was just so much on top of each other. And I just remember like being so upset at things. I can literally feel sick. Like, I would feel the adrenaline run through my body. Like, I can literally feel it. I've never experienced that in my life. And that's one of the biggest things I have to say to anybody is stress is real. Like, it is a major contribution to your health, your train of thoughts. I was highly depressed. A lot of people don't know this, but I was so depressed, like I actually started going, you know, to meet with a therapist weekly. You know, in our community, the Black community, a lot of people, you know, are expected to just get over their problems, rough it out, tough it out, you know, fight through whatever you're going through. And going to seek like professional help is never really like something that people are open to. So if you know anyone like that is depressed, like there's so much like friends can do to support you and keep you going. But honestly, being in a depressed state of mind, it's really not going to do anything for you. Like my friends were encouraging me to get out of the house because all I wanted to do was stay in. I shut down my social media. I wasn't conversating with people. I wasn't calling people to say, hey, how you doing? When people would call me, I would ignore their calls. And I was being encouraged to get out of that mindset. And no matter how simple whatever is upsetting you is, you could just have a bad day. It could be raining and you wanted to go to the beach, or you're upset about something petty. It really doesn't matter. When you're depressed, it is the end of the world and there's nothing that's gonna draw you out of it. It takes a lot of mental strength and the willingness to get out of that mindset. So for me, I decided to go seek help and speak to someone, and it really, really helped me out. And another thing that was a major factor for me getting out of that state of mind is one of my good friends gave me this amazing book. I really recommend it. Despite whatever this author is going through right now, I took a lot from this book and it changed my life. It was Success Through Meditation by Russell Simmons. And it just gave me a lot of peace. But before I got to that moment, the stress and the depression, it made me do things out of the ordinary. Like I used to own a boutique. I couldn't run it. I had to close it down. It was pulling a lot out of my financial situation. Work a full-time job. I just got another overnight job to help me bounce back from being broke basically, which is another reason to be depressed. And I stopped going to the gym. I wasn't eating right. And I started to gain weight. So I just kind of assumed the weight gain was from me not eating right. I didn't have time to go to the gym anymore, so whatever. So all of this is happening from May, June, July, and August. And one day, my stomach was just constantly hurting all the time. And I was at work and I'm like, you know what? This doesn't feel right. I need to go to the emergency room. I left work. I go to the emergency room and they do all types of scans and tests. And they're I was told that my fibroids were extremely large and I had to have a hysterectomy. And that was what? A hysterectomy means that they will surgically completely remove your uterus. So without a uterus, you're no longer able to conceive, because that's where the fetus develops and grows. So if there's no uterus, there's no chance of me ever having a child. And I don't have any kids. And I was what? This can't be. So they wanted me to have a hysterectomy in the emergency room. And I was no, Like, I don't have any kids. There has to be another option. So I was there for a couple of days. They suggested that I go back to my OBGYN to discuss other, options. So after I was discharged, I followed up with my regular OBGYN, and he was like, from the looks of all of the tests and the scans that I went through at the emergency room, it looks like I really do need to have a hysterectomy and have my uterus removed, because my fibroids, which I've had for years, by the way, which were always, small. I go get checked every single year. I'm told, yeah, you have fibroids. There were like the size of maybe, a penny or a quarter. Never anything to be concerned about. So my doctor was like, your fibroid is now like the size of a cantaloupe. And there was 3 other smaller ones the size of a golf ball. And what he said to me is like, because I do get checked and there is a history of my fibroids, he's like, there is a high possibility that it could be cancerous because it grew that size from your last checkup, which was 10 months ago at the time, from about the size of a quarter to the size of a cantaloupe. He's like, that type of growth is extremely abnormal, that fast. Yes, fibroids are able to grow, but they gradually grow over a longer period of time. And I was like, well, aren't there any other options besides having uterus? I'll save my chance of having a child. He advised me that I can have a myomectomy, which would still be pretty risky. And basically what a myomectomy is, the surgeon will focus on only removing the tumors or the fibroids only out of the uterus, leaving a partial part of the uterus intact. Now, this is pros and cons, because if indeed the fibroids are cancerous, there is a chance he won't get all of it out of your uterus, and then they'll continue to spread. So given that information, I was like, so how do we find out if it is cancerous? And basically, there's no way to have a biopsy, which is usually the procedure done to test a mass to see if it's cancerous. If you have like lung cancer or breast cancer or abnormal growth somewhere in your body, usually what a doctor will do is a procedure called a biopsy, where they go in and take a piece of the tissue and test it. But unfortunately, for uterine cancers, there's no way to actually go in and take a sample. Why, I don't know, but I was told this. So I decided to meet with other surgeons to get a second opinion. I got a second opinion. I think I went to 4 different surgeons before I decided on a surgeon that I wanted to actually proceed with my surgery. And he gave me, again, the pros and cons. If I have a hysterectomy and remove the whole uterus, the pro is, if the tumor is cancerous, again, at this time, I don't know. The pro is if the tumor is cancerous, or the tumor fibroids, if I say either or, it's actually the same thing. So if I have the hysterectomy and have the whole uterus removed, if it is cancerous, it was contained in the uterus and there's no chance of it spreading. If I have the myomectomy, now they're going to focus on just the mass, remove that. If it's not cancerous, great. I can have the possibility of conceiving in the future. But the con is, if it is cancerous, there's a high possibility there'll still be traces of the cancer to regenerate in whatever uterus I have left. So, given those options, and the doctor, the surgeon, you know, did give me the risk, and he shared with me the type of cancer that it could possibly be, which is called leiomyosarcoma. Is one of the most rare cancers there is. It's actually 1% of all the cancers. And he said he feels it's probably unlikely that I have this cancer because it's extremely rare, and the people that do have it are people like that's already been through menopause. So I decided to go with the myomectomy, because I wanted the chance to have children, you know. I don't have any plans of having them now, but I would love to. So the plan for the surgery was to have the myomectomy, focus on removing just the mass, which they would then test, which is the only way they can test is once it's out of your body to see if it was cancer. So I went through surgery. It was expected to be 4 hours. I woke up like it was nothing. Like I woke up like it was 2 minutes. And I was told it ended up being 8 hours because I lost so much blood. They had to give me 2 infusions. And I was like, what? That's crazy. Like legit. I remember them putting the mask on my face and telling me count back to 10. And I'm like 10, 9, 8. This is not. Next thing I know, I'm awake. Surgery's over. And first thing on my mind is what was the results like of, you know, the test of the mask. Because while I was in surgery, when they removed it, they were going to test it. And then I remember being told that it was cancerous. Like the mass was actually a tumor. And I don't remember like the train of thought or the emotion I had, to be honest with you. Like, I was like, what? You know, so I was in the hospital for about 4 days. I had a catheter, couldn't go pee, like, couldn't eat anything. I was on they were just giving me like broth. Like I wasn't allowed to eat anything solid. And a myomectomy is basically like having a C-section. They do a horizontal incision along your bikini line to open up your stomach, and then they go in like they would take out a baby, but they're taking out, you know, the masses, the tumors that were in me. So I had a huge incision to recover from. So when I got back home, it was like so much pain. I couldn't walk. I couldn't get out of bed. Like I couldn't eat. Like I had to drink from a straw because I had to lay completely flat. I couldn't just prop myself up on the bed and sit up because like it would hurt. Like my abdomen area was like so like sore and raw. Like I had to lay completely flat. So whenever I was thirsty, I couldn't even tilt up. I had no core strength to even drink from a glass. So I had to drink all of my drinks from a straw. Like someone had to literally walk me back and forth to the bathroom. Someone had to bathe me, you know. And then I just remember like the painkillers that they gave me were so strong. They would just knock me out. So when I wanted to be alert, I didn't take any painkillers because I wouldn't be like, you know, completely there. Like these drugs, like they just make me feel so lethargic, you know. So whenever I wanted to feel like alert, I just had to like rough through the pain. So it took about 6 to 8 weeks till like I was closer to 8 weeks, if I can remember correctly, until like I was able to at least walk and you know, sit up on my own. So now that I was able to kind of move around, I have to deal with the fact that I was told it was cancer. And my surgeon was like, he's gonna refer me to a cancer hospital, and I'm gonna have to have treatment. And I remember him saying the word treatment, like, treatment? Like, I was just so confused, like, why is he telling me I'm going to have treatment? So, excuse me. So I meet with a cancer specialist, and I'm like, you know, I really want to have like a second opinion before all of this stuff you guys are throwing at me, talking about chemo and this and that. I'm like, listen, I need a second opinion. I'm just not gonna take your word for this. So I had the samples sent to University of Miami, and long story short, I go there and meet with the doctor there, and I was told the same thing, that it is cancer, the cancer that they were concerned about, which is leiomyosarcoma. And so I go back to the original specialist I was referred to, and I'm like, okay, so what is it? What are we gonna do? So when realizing that I had the myomectomy, which was allowing a risk of the cancer to spread if there were any microscopic traces left. Like, when I mean microscopic, it's not something the surgeon could have seen to take out or remove. It could just be one single cell that could have spread or got disrupted during the surgery to remain, to have the chance to grow. And at this point, it was over 2 months since the surgery. So I was sent to have a MRI of my whole chest and torso, and it was discovered that there was still cancer in my uterus, and now it was in my lungs and certain places in my back. And it was explained to me this kind of cancer is extremely aggressive. It reproduces fast, and I had to start chemo like ASAP. So word gets out to my friends and my family, and people are pulling you one way and pulling you this way. Don't do chemo. You can cure cancer through juicing. You can cure cancer through eating right. You can cure cancer through meditation. I'm being told all of that is hoopla. You gotta go to camp. You gotta go through chemo. You don't want to take the chance. So I'm getting like, and I understand everyone was so concerned and was really, concerned about my well-being, but it was so overwhelming. It was like, shit, like, cancer is gonna change my life. What should I do? Chemo is a poison. It doesn't just attack the cancer cells, it'll attack your good cells too. And then there's always that thing in the back of my head, like, this is just a business. They're all after like insurance money. So do I really go through chemo? Can I fight this like naturally? Like, you don't know. Like, you just don't know. You're being pulled every single direction. Everyone has an opinion, and nobody's in your shoes. No matter how much they care for you, no matter how much they want to see you get through this and get back to your life, nobody is in your shoes. And I decided to go to do the chemotherapy. I didn't want to just leave it up to changing, you know, my lifestyle as far as like what I eat, you know, finding natural ways. You know, I did plan on doing that. I am doing that, but I didn't want that to be the only thing I was relying on. Like, this is my life. You know what I mean? Everyone's opinion is not going, there's no way for me to know which way is the right way. So I just had to feel like what I needed to do. So I decided to go through chemo. And some people were disappointed. Some people felt like I shouldn't have done it. Some people were like, you know what, you're doing the right thing. Like, even to this day, I'm still unsure, you know. I just know I made a decision and I stuck to it. And the next step before having chemo was to have a port surgically put into my chest to attach to one of my main arteries. And if you can see, like, this is the port here. I've never known anything about this or ever seen anything like this on anybody, but basically the chemo is so strong that they can't just stick it through an IV, because the chance of it like not getting in the first time and actually seeping through your vein, you can die. So it needs to go directly to your bloodstream. So what they do is they surgically put in this port. I think it's made out of like some kind of plastic or something. And when you go in through chemo, they just stick a needle right here, which is gonna distribute the chemo medicine straight to your bloodstream. So I had to go and get surgery to have this inserted, recover from that. So now at this point I had 2 surgeries. I had the myomectomy, I had this surgery. That's a lot. Now I have to start chemo. And the first chemo treatment, guys, that was one of the worst things I've ever experienced. It wasn't the actual like procedure. So you go to, you know, your cancer hospital, your cancer treatment center, and they have these rooms with these little sectionals, like separated sections with a recliner. You can have visitors with you. I'm so lucky to have, you know, a small circle, very small circle. However, they are extremely present. I've never been to a treatment by myself. There's always at least 2 people with me for the whole day. So before they give you the medicine, chemo is like really, it's gonna take a lot out of you. It's gonna make you nauseous, it's gonna make you vomit, it's gonna make you tired, you're gonna lose your appetite. So they give you pre-medication and they stick you with a steroid shot in your stomach, which is supposed to prevent like nausea, and they pump something else into your IV to help combat the nausea. So after that is, you know, completely fed through your IV, it usually takes about 30 minutes. Then they give you the chemo. So, you know, it's kind of weird. You might feel tired or uncomfortable during the procedure, but the actual procedure is not that bad. Besides like the amount of time you're there is anywhere from like 2 to 3 hours. But if you have people with you, it can go by fast, or you just fall asleep, you know, on the recliner. But that first night, I get home, all of that pre-medication I just told you about that they give you before the chemo, like the steroid shot in your stomach, and then the anti-nausea medication also goes to your IV, that wears off, okay? That wears off. It will be gone out of your system probably like 6 hours after, you know, your chemo. So I'm at home relaxing. I'm not feeling that great, but the pre-medication is wearing off. and it hits me like a ton of bricks. It was like the worst hangover. Imagine your worst hangover you've ever had, like your wildest night, your college night, and you've drunken everything on the available to you. Now take that and multiply it by 10. I'm not exaggerating. The floor was moving, the ceiling was coming down. I couldn't walk. I was having sweats. I was so nauseous. I couldn't lay down because it was like I was on a floating bed on the ocean. It just felt like I was going like this. I didn't feel still. And it just felt like there was all this gravity pushing me down. It felt like there was a ton of bricks on my body and gravity was just pulling me down. I couldn't even stand up. As much as I wanted to sit up because I felt so woozy, I couldn't even sit up because I just felt like I was being pushed back down. It was weird. I never felt like that. And it lasted for 2 days. Maybe 3 days. I think it lasted for three days. So imagine your worst hangover lasting for 3 days. That's crazy. No one should have to experience that. And when I say it lasted for 3 days, that's the point where it got less. It wasn't like, okay, the next day I was completely fine. No, like it took at least 2 to 3 weeks for me to feel back normal. And by that time I was having another treatment. But thankfully nothing has been that bad as far as the first night. Like I vomited. That was the only time I've ever vomited from treatment. Not even my second treatment, I had to vomit. I've come close many times. That nausea is real and it's consistent. Okay? That nausea is no joke. But that first time, that first round of treatment, I was like, I'm not going back. Fuck no. Hell no. Like, y'all want me to do this, like, for how long? Y'all don't even know how long I'm gonna need to do this? Because, like, this is all I've known. Like, this was my first treatment. So, in my mind, I'm gonna feel like this every single time. And some people do. So, I made it up in my head. Like, I was not gonna go back. But, my family was like, no, you have to fight this. This is something that you can't just, be a bitch about. You have to fight this cancer. So I went back. I've been having treatment now for, probably, I would say 6 to 7 months now. And it hasn't been as bad as the first time, but like, I'm not the same, you know what I mean? Like, there's always nausea, I'm always tired. I was originally like 145 pounds. I was thick, y'all. Like, I was thick. I had a nice little shape, and then I was down to like 118 pounds. Like, it was crazy. Like, at this point, I've gained, a lot of the weight back. I'm about like 132. It seems like I plateaued there, which is fine. I don't really care to get back to my original weight, but I was getting concerned that I was losing weight. So I'm glad that I've gained some weight. But that is the story of what happened. And I'm fighting this cancer, and I'm doing a lot of things to help me like fight it, not just like chemo. I changed the way I eat, which is a battle sometimes because I'm greedy and I love food. I got closer to God, which I felt like had a lot of intervention on this. And when I say intervention, it could be easy. And trust me, if there's anyone that feels like this, I completely understand. It could be very easy to be mad at God and be like, why did you let this happen to me? I've had those thoughts. And honestly, that's, in my opinion, that's completely normal. Like, that's a good question. Like, God, why did you let this happen to me? But I had to look through everything that was happening. Yes, like, this is something that I'm going through. Did God let this happen to me? Did he put this on me? Did he assign this to me? Was this assigned by the devil? I don't know. But what I definitely do know and believe 100%, whether the reason why this was something that is part of my life now, I 100% believe that God has provided me with angels to guide me and uplift me through this. Not just angels, but he's provided me with situations to make this easier. He's provided me with the spirit that I have to find. I'm always finding a positive flip side of things. Anyone that knows me are always telling me, Lucy, how do you stay so calm? I've been like this my whole life. I don't know. But whatever the situation is, there is something positive in it. It sounds crazy, but you have to look for it. It's there. If you don't want to see it, you're not going to see it. You're just going to see the bad in it. And that's going to be your reality. So it's up to you to accept the reality you want to. If you want to accept that you're in a shitty situation and everything is cursed, nothing's going to be right, that's going to be your reality. But if you accept the opposite, which is, damn, I have all these challenges, but something just happened with that made it a little bit easier. Maybe I'm not cursed. Maybe I'm actually blessed. You know? Am I wrong? Is it impossible to find the positive in any type of situation? I don't know. I just know I've been through so much, and there's been a lot of things, some strange things that didn't make sense to make my life a lot easier through this. And I'm going to decide that it was God. Anyways, guys, thank you for sitting through my story. Pray for me. Send me these good vibes. Remember to sign up to my newsletter on my website, www.juicytoldyou.com. That way you get updates, shop my affiliate links. All of my revenue that I receive through my affiliate links does support me. The revenue does help me with my medical expenses. If you decide not to use my affiliate links, as long as you are wishing me well and you're commenting and you're liking and subscribing my content, that's all I can ask for, guys. And I know you guys are amazing people, so I appreciate you. This has been Juicy Told You.